Triple E EDC back again with another knife video. I am really excited for this knife. This is the Freeman Knives 451 button lock. And this is quite a large knife. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. Let's first look at the XM24, which is a very large knife, and the Endura XM18. And these knives will become more important later, but I'll go ahead and do this dimension as well. For those, you can see it's an in-between size from those two. You can see that the Microtech Socom Elite is a little bit longer, and the Reeve and Cosi is smaller. Both the Spyderco Paramilitary 2 and the Para 3 are smaller than the Freeman 451, but so is the Spyderco Shaman and the Benchmade Griptilian. All of these are smaller knives. The Benchmade turret is also smaller, and the ZTO 308 is about the same size. So if you guys know the ZTO 308 is a very large knife, or fairly large knife. You can see that it is pretty much the same size as the Freeman here, at least in this dimension. Obviously it's taller than this one is. Okay, now a couple of things about this knife. First, this comes in a couple of different variations. So most of the variations have a black blade, fully black blade, and all of them have this scalloping along the edge. The base versions come in D2 steel and an aluminum handle. The aluminum handles come with a variety of inserts. You can get different color G10, and I believe there's also a carbon fiber version of the insert as well, aluminum with a carbon fiber insert. This version is the titanium version. So the titanium version comes in S45 VN steel. So this is one of two knives that I know of. Obviously you have the Paramilitary 2 that came out in S45 VN recently for Spyderco. This is the only other company I know of that's using it, so I was really excited to get to use this. I didn't pick up one of those PM2s. Those were a sprint run, I believe, by the way. But this is regular production. This is, the American flag here does not come standard. Generally they come blank, and there's usually a choice that you can get the emblem for Freeman knives, which is like an eagle on here. However, this version was on USA Made Blades website. I'm not sure if it was an exclusive, but I haven't seen the American flag otherwise, and I wanted to go ahead and get that one. I did get the titanium S45 VN version, as you guys see, and I'm really excited that I did. Okay, a couple of things right off the bat to know about this knife. This thing is a tank. I mean, it is a tank. It is not an integral. It's sandwich construction with spacers here, or standoffs, but it is a tank. This thing feels more solid than my Reeve knives. It feels more solid than my Enduras, and even here with the titanium scale, I'd say if it's not more solid, it's at least as solid as the titanium, all titanium XM24. So that's saying a lot. This is definitely a solid knife. Another thing right off the bat is that this is a button lock. The action on this is literally as smooth as butter. I mean, once you push the button lock, it just comes right down right away. And I don't even have this straight up and down. If I had it straight up and down, you'd see, boom, just really pops right down. The action on this is absolute butter, which means that it's a fidget dream. You know, you can flick it out like this, flick it back. You can use the flipper tab, flick it back. You can Spidey flick it. These two holes here, they're not actually holes, they're indentations here, or grooves. So you can definitely Spidey flick that out, and you can thumb flick this out as well. So yeah, this has a lot of different ways that this can be opened, and it's a lot of fun. Obviously also you can just depress the button and wrist flick it, like I said. So I love that right off the bat. Another thing I really like, I don't think it was intentional in the design, but I do really like it, is you have this American flag here, and then the part of the knife sticking out says free. So even though it's Freeman on the knife, the part sticking out says free, and it has the American flag right there showing. I don't think that was intentional, but it definitely is a positive in my eyes, and I really like that. Another thing on this right off the bat is that the clip on here is one of the most solid clips I've ever seen. Now, there's good and bad with it. I'll talk about the clip a little bit when we get to some of the bad stuff. But really, this thing is solid. I don't think it's titanium. It feels like steel. I don't know for sure. This thing is, the clip strength on this spring is amazing. But it doesn't, drag in and out of your pocket. It's actually really, really easy to get in and out of pocket, and that's a great thing. Speaking of being solid, I talked about the hinders before. The design on here actually reminds me a lot of the design on the Hinderer. So if you look here, this is the XM24 and the Freeman knives. The jimping is very similar, even though it's spaced a little differently, but it's very similar up here on the back of the frame. And then you have the jimping in the back, kind of similar jimping in the back, although, positioned slightly differently. The standoffs are basically the same standoffs, just a little thicker on the Hinderer. You also have spanner bits on the lock side of the pivot. In this case, the lock side isn't really the lock side because it's a button lock, but you definitely have a spanner bit there on this one as well. So that's interesting. Now you do have a Torx here, whereas you have the flathead there. Like I said, that's interesting to see. The major difference, of course, is the scalloping here. Okay, so I do think the scalloping looks really attractive, and the blade shape itself is an excellent blade shape. Very, very nice drop point. The ergonomics on this are really, really good. You feel really solid in hand. I wouldn't say they're perfect. I'd probably give it maybe a 7.5 out of 10, on the ergonomics, which is pretty good in my book. You also have this choil up here where you can choke up and really get some, good work on here, and this really feels like a very comfortable position where I'm not worried about cutting up my finger. So that's good as well. So those are the main good points. Another good point, obviously, is that the lanyard hole is on the back here, is mostly out of the way. I think if they designed the clip differently, it would be even more out of the way. As it is, we'll get to that in a minute. On the bad side, let's talk about a couple of bad things. First, there was lock stick. There was a good amount of lock stick on this button when I first got this thing. I was a little disappointed in that, but it's for the most part, it's worked itself away. There's still a little bit. I don't know if you can hear it. Let's see. You may have been able to hear that. Let's hear it again. Yeah, so you can see there's some lock stick. However, if I open it with the button, I'm under the camera, then I actually get no lock stick, none. It's only when I really use the flipper and pull it out hard so that there's a lot of force on it that you get the lock stick. But it is something to be aware of, and something, that I can't overlook. As far as the clip, so two things with the clip. One is this thing is massive, definitely draws attention in your pocket. Another thing is that it is very low off of here, so you're going to get a lot of the knife sticking up, which also doesn't really make sense that you have such a large lanyard if you're going to have the knife sticking up so much, because you can get plenty of purchase on the knife itself to pull it out of your pocket, and really the purpose of a lanyard, other than for style, is to help pull this out of your pocket. So because you have the clip here and you can get so much purchase here, it really doesn't make sense why they have the lanyard the way it is. The lanyard does come standard on this. I will probably take it off, but I wanted to give it a chance for a few days before I did take it off. It does come off pretty easily. It's just folded on under right here, so you can see it comes off that way. But that's great as well. The coloring on this blade, like I said, the normal blade comes all black with some satin lettering. Here, this is basically satin flats with the black scalloping, black spine here, and black writing. Now the writing is, you guys know I'm not a huge fan of billboarding, and the writing is big and it's bold and it's, it's got your attention. And then it's even worse on this side. If you didn't know what steel this was, you do, now, and you will know for the rest of your life, because this thing is massively imprinted here. They are not shy about the fact that they are putting out a new steel. They're putting it out there as one of the first on the market, and they're making it known. I don't know if the D2 version also has this big of lettering on the back, but I do like the fact that it has that USA on it. Overall, though, you know, the lettering is kind of obnoxious, but, you know, you hear the words "go big or go home," and frankly, they went big. They didn't go home, and I didn't mind it as much as I think I would. If it wasn't so bold and blatant, I probably would hate it. But it's not as much of an annoyance as I would, you know, have otherwise if it wasn't so big and bold. You know, if they had just scrolled a whole bunch of stuff over here. So other than that, I don't have a ton of negative things to say about this blade. This is a lot of fun to fidget with, to play with. I spidey flick it, I thumb roll it, like I said, with the action. The action butter on this, this has not left my pocket since I got it. It's a really, really fun knife. If you haven't checked out one of these, well, I should probably go over the price a little bit on these. So the price on these is... I believe it's like $225 or so for the aluminum version, and the titanium version. Sorry guys, I'm trying to look for the price in my notes. I think I left it out. The titanium version ran about $325 or so, so it's like an extra $100. And it obviously came with a better steel. I think it's worth it to get that better steel and also to get the titanium. The titanium on this feels amazing. I mean, I do love the aluminum on my Microtech Socom Elite, but if it came in titanium, honestly, I'd probably pay the extra money for it. So, Microtech, if you're listening, take notice. But this knife, definitely on the recommend list. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out. I do recommend this quite a bit. This is a lot of fun. Actually, one thing I should probably mention also is the scalloping. So the scalloping, you're probably wondering if it does affect the cutting. It does not affect the cutting. I didn't want to put this in the good or the bad. It does not affect the cutting, but you do feel it. If you're cutting through cardboard, you will feel the scalloping go through it, but it doesn't really affect the cutting. Just something to keep in mind. Thanks so much for watching, guys. And I appreciate you tuning in. Don't forget I have a giveaway going that ends, well, it's about 3 in the morning here, so it ends tonight, Sunday night at 11:59 Central. So do not forget to enter that if you have not entered already. Thanks so much for watching.